Jurassic World Rebirth, a movie I liked more than I expected to. Most of the Jurassic Park movies are great. The first is obviously a classic, but the first three Jurassic World movies, not so much. We got Scarlett Johansson in this movie. Orlando Bloom is not in the movie, but we have an Orlando Bloom lookalike. Scarlett Johansson is a money-hungry mercenary spy type of person who the Orlando Bloom lookalike character wants to hire to do some dinosaur shenanigans. The character in the movie, Duncan Kincaid, is one of Scarlett Johansson's buddies. He owns a big, fast boat that they're going to use to get to the island with the dinosaurs, and they kind of both team up on Orlando Bloom and scheme more money out of him by pretending they won't do it unless he doubles the fee, which he has zero problem with. They have another partner who's played by the guy who was Dario Naharis from Game of Thrones. I don't know his name in real life, I didn't look it up, and he's a pretty forgettable character, so he's basically just Dario again, so I'm going to call him Dario. There's this dinosaur doctor who loves to chew Altoids like they're Tic Tacs, and they all go off on an adventure to find some dinosaur hemoglobin samples to use to cure heart disease, which the Orlando Bloom lookalike wants to use to get rich, or for his company to get rich by charging a lot of money for people to use this treatment they're going to make. So past this point, there are spoilers because we're going to be talking about the movie in more detail. The movie opens to a scene taking place on a remote island 17 years prior to the current time in the rest of the movie. They're creating new dinosaurs on this island, one of them being the new D-Rex. In the facility on the island, they show a scientist guy who drops a Snickers wrapper. It's good product placement. And that wrapper somehow gets sucked into one of the massive retaining doors, and that also somehow shorts out the big door, even though it's a plastic wrapper. Either way, the D-Rex and other dinosaurs get loose on the island and overtake everything. We're set in a world right now where dinosaurs have been common creatures all around the world for years after the events of the first three Jurassic World movies, but now they're starting to die off. Actually, it's getting pretty bad, and they're all dying off because they can't live in the colder areas of the world. They can only live in a small band around the equator that's apparently able to sustain dinosaur life. So it starts off with Scarlett Johansson being a spy, money-obsessed mercenary, and she meets with the Orlando Bloom character who convinces her to do the job to get the dinosaur hemoglobin. She then goes and meets the scientist who loves to chew the Altoids. They team up with Duncan, who has the boat, Dario Naharis, who's one of their other mercenary friends, and the Orlando Bloom lookalike guy funds the entire operation to get the samples. So those five characters set off on an adventure. At one point, the character Duncan and Scarlett open up just with each other about their personal lives, because it seems like they haven't spoken to each other in a long time, but they used to do jobs together in the past. Scarlett lets him know that she lost her boyfriend or husband or someone, I think just boyfriend, but the person she loved on her last job because he died. And Duncan also... I think Scarlett already knew this, but Duncan lost his child, and him and his wife couldn't stand to look at each other after that, so they lost each other too because they got separated. And then we switch over to a family who is sailing across the ocean on a smallish sailboat. It's a father, his two daughters. One is in her probably preteens, and the other one seems to be in her older teens, probably about to go away to college because they discussed that she won't be there anymore after that. And then the older daughter's boyfriend is there as well. The boyfriend comes across as being kind of useless and not the most likable character, but we'll get more into that later because that's by design. Eventually, their sailboat gets capsized by some swimming dinosaurs, a mosasaur specifically, and the dynamic of that group ends up being a positive part of the movie. The movie's actually rather fun, surprised me a bit with that since the original Jurassic Park movies were much more serious, and the three Jurassic World movies just weren't my favorite thing. I think they took themselves too seriously. Rebirth doesn't capture the same majestic feel of the original Jurassic Park, but it has its own thing going on. Scarlett Johansson carries the movie as the star, and she does a great job, actually. When the family sailboat capsizes, they send an SOS out for rescue. The team on the boat, who are trying to get the dinosaur samples, picks up the SOS and they go to rescue the family. After picking up the family, the swimming dinosaurs, the mosasaur, teamed up and attacked the big boat with everyone on it. The people on the boat panicked expectedly, and they were trying to escape the dinosaurs, so they drove into the shallows, but they ended up crashing the boat, and the family gets completely separated from the rest of the group, and everyone's stranded on that island. The younger daughter ends up finding this small dinosaur that she keeps as a pet and puts in her backpack and carries it around. Meanwhile, the team who's looking for the samples, they end up finding another sample from a flying dinosaur. They get it from one of the eggs in the nest, and they had already gotten their first sample while they were on the boat from the mosasaur. While walking around on the island, the Orlando Bloom 2.0 lookalike finds a gun, a handgun, and a crashed helicopter. So we know that's going to come up later. The two groups finally meet up at the old island facilities where the dinosaurs were being created years ago in the beginning of the movie. And the older daughter accuses the Orlando clone of trying to kill her and push her off the boat, which he very much did. And it's a little strange in this part because she has absolutely no reason to lie about this, and he has every reason to lie about this. Plus, he pulls out his gun to make everyone listen to him, but somehow all of the other characters are like, well, I don't know, I guess we'll figure this out later. Although it's pretty obvious that he's lying and she was telling the truth. At the facility, things get a little crazy. Some of the characters crawling through tunnels to get away from dinosaurs, others are hiding under jeeps. There's also a scene with the family in a convenience store type of thing where it's a clear callback to the original Jurassic Park kitchen scene with the two kids where they're hiding from the raptors. In this scene in Jurassic World Rebirth, the younger daughter is hiding in a cooler, and to block the light, she puts her backpack or her coat or something up so that the dinosaur only sees its own reflection in the window and leaves the girl alone. Very much like the original Jurassic Park scene in the kitchen. The Orlando Bloom lookalike ends up taking a Jeep and drives away with it with the briefcase containing the hemoglobin samples that he handcuffed to his arm. There are kind of a lot of bad guy tropes in this movie for him, and that's another one of them. Later on, his arm, of course, gets ripped off with the briefcase still attached to it. The remaining survivors were able to get the briefcase off of his detached arm so they could get the dinosaur samples and bring them back with them if they escape. The doctor, who loves to chew the Altoids, wanted to get the dinosaur hemoglobin samples so that he could use them for good and offer the health benefits to everyone, rather than to hide them behind a paywall with health insurance or high costs. He feels like everyone should have the ability to benefit from the medical advancement, and he eventually convinces Scarlett Johansson to go along with that idea as well. A helicopter arrives, a rescue helicopter that was set to arrive at a certain period of time in case they needed rescue. And that doctor character shoots a flare up into the sky to get the helicopter pilot's attention at the very last second. And the helicopter sees the flare, so they turn around and they come back, and you think it's all good. They're flying through the clouds. They're going to land and help everybody. But then you realize that the D-Rex actually has the helicopter in its mouth. It wasn't flying through the clouds, and so the helicopter is lost. They don't have an escape. And the D-Rex is that dinosaur they were creating in the beginning of the movie. It's gigantic. It's like a T-Rex mixed with something else. But it's absolutely huge, so it takes the helicopter down. Then we get to a part where the whole team and the family are going to get on a rescue boat to try to get away, because that's their only course of action. But of course, the big D-Rex is in the area and is giving them problems. And this is where we need to talk about the hand flare incident. Going back to the original Jurassic Park, the character Alan Grant uses the hand flare to distract the T-Rex from the kids in the Jeep, and he throws the hand flare so that the dinosaur follows the flare. Then later on in that same movie, Ian Malcolm tries the same thing, but he completely messes it up, where he runs with the hand flare and then he throws it, but he keeps running. So the motion attracts the T-Rex and he almost pays the ultimate price for it, but of course he survives. Chaos theory. Then we fast forward to this movie, Rebirth, and Duncan, the guy who owns the boat, tries to do the hand flare thing as well so that everyone else can get on the escape dinghy and get away. He's going to sacrifice himself. So he lights the hand flare, he's wading through the water, running away from the D-Rex, and the D-Rex is right behind him, following him, and eventually he gets trapped up against a tree in a thick flooded forest with the D-Rex right in his face. So he seems like a total goner. Scarlet somehow breaks a chain that isn't taut at all. It's just like a loose chain and she's just smacking it with a metal bar, and that's holding the escape dinghy like in the air, but somehow she breaks it. The boat falls. When they get in the boat, they see Duncan's flare in the woods and it goes out, like it isn't lit up anymore. So clearly the D-Rex must have gotten him. And then the D-Rex comes out of the woods and starts going after the boat, so they have to start the boat really fast and get out of there. So it seemed like there was nowhere for Duncan to go. He was trapped up against the tree and his flare went out, so obviously the D-Rex got him. But not only does he survive, he kind of almost teleports into the water close to where the dinghy boat is. They had already started driving away, and then they see him shoot a flare in the air, so apparently he had the flare gun as well. And they kind of circle back for him, but it doesn't really make too much sense as to how he even got where he was and got away from the dinosaur and swam into the open-ish water where the boat was, but whatever, just plot armor, I guess, to let him survive. But it is definitely a callback to the original movie with the flare. That is the end of the movie. Most of the people survive, except for Orlando Bloom's character and Dario Naharis earlier in the movie. But everybody else is good. The boyfriend did show his worth to the family, and he re-showed his worth to his girlfriend, who, loves him more than ever now. It looks like it's going to be good for him, and it's going to be a good future for them. The movie does seem like it's set up for a sequel, possibly, of course. So we'll see if there's a Jurassic World Rebirth or Rebirth 2 or something. But either way, it was much more fun than the first 3 Jurassic World movies. The Jurassic World movies just didn't do it for me, except for this one, Rebirth. Jurassic World Rebirth was a great rebirth to the franchise. Alright guys, that's all I got for this one. Oh, another thing, the theme music in this movie, other than the original Jurassic Park score, which is kind of spattered throughout, but this movie's specific theme song reminds me a lot of the Batman Forever theme song. I don't know why, it just every time I watch it, I've seen the movie a couple times now, it very much reminds me of Batman Forever, with Val Kilmer as Batman and Jim Carrey as the Riddler and Tommy Lee Jones as Two-Face, and who was Robin? Oh, Chris O'Donnell. Yeah. All right, that's all.